St. Lucie Public Schools, with the assistance of the Roundtable of St. Lucie County, is a Kids at Hope district where we believe that all children are capable of success, no exceptions. Hello, and welcome to The Power of Hope. The Power of Hope is a show dedicated at discussing Kids at Hope in St. Lucie County. Kids at Hope is an international initiative that was brought to the area by the Roundtable of St. Lucie County and funded by the United Way, the Roy A. Hunt Foundation, and the Children's Services Council of St. Lucie County. Kids at Hope is not a program. It is a strategic cultural framework that is based on three basic principles and beliefs. We believe, we connect, and we time travel. I am treasure hunter Jared Stevens, Kids at Hope School Community Liaison, as well as your host for the show, and I would like to thank you for tuning in for today's episode of The Power of Hope. We encourage you to tune in every show this season as we discuss building a culture of hope. Now, you may be asking yourself, why did he refer to himself as a treasure hunter? Well, as an adult and a treasure hunter, I am committed to search for all the talents, skills, and intelligence that exist in all children and youth. I believe that all children are capable of success, no exceptions. Kids at Hope has three universal truths, with universal truth number one being children succeed when they are surrounded by adults who believe they can succeed. We are fortunate today to have two treasure hunters on the show that I know believe in the success of children. Please join me in welcoming Kids at Hope treasure hunter Anna Rodriguez, Alapata Flats Assistant Principal and Co-Chair of the Academic Success Network, as well as Heather Belitho, Media Specialist at KAH. Ladies, thank you for joining us today as we discuss building a culture of hope.
Thank you.
So we have a lot of things to discuss today, so I don't want to, spend too much time going into it, so let's just dive right in. Now, Heather, I know that there is no perfect way to build a Kids at Hope culture. When building a Kids at Hope culture into a school, what do you feel is the best practice that you've seen?
The best practice that I've seen, I think, it ties directly into something that you just said, that Kids at Hope is not a program, it's a belief. And I think that when you're introducing Kids at Hope into your school, if you keep that in mind, that this is a belief system. This isn't something that you do on Tuesday afternoons from a certain time to a certain time, but keep that belief as the center of everything that you do. I think that you're automatically on the right track, the belief that every child is capable of success without exceptions. I think another big part of it is understanding that there's not a right way and there's not a wrong way to do it. If you think about your school and your staff and your kids and your administration and your core group of teachers that are going to help you get that message out there, think about what works for them. And I think also being willing to take some risks and know that you can try something, and if it doesn't work, that's okay. You can look at it again, start fresh, and try again.
So if at first you don't succeed, try again.
There you go.
Now, Anna, with being fortunate to be a part of the inaugural year of Kids at Hope at two separate schools, what have you found to work from your experience?
I think the first thing is to create an action plan that begins with professional development. Those initial trainings are very important because you want everybody in your staff, from cafeteria to maintenance to teachers, students, parents, everybody to be involved. You have to spread the message of that shared belief system. All methods of communication, parent newsletters, just everywhere you can possibly think of. And then in our action plan, we have little projects that we're going to do throughout the year.
Okay, that's great. So at KAH, you have visuals everywhere in regards of Kids at Hope, from posters to signs to motivational messages and things of that nature. Why do you feel it's important when implementing a culture into the school, more specifically Kids at Hope, why do you feel it's important to have the Kids at Hope visuals present for the children and the adults?
Well, I think it's important for a few different reasons, partly because it reinforces that belief. when we tell ourselves something, that perception becomes our reality. So if I see every day that I am capable of success, even if I don't believe it when I first start seeing it or I first start saying it, after a while you begin to. We also have tried to help our school take ownership of some of that positive language and some of those visuals. So above our pods, we've painted positive quotes that our students and our teachers have decided they want to have displayed. We have one of our technology teachers, she did something incredible. We had a quote of the week, a positive quote, and she took the accumulation of all the quotes we had done in a year, and the kids then took those quotes, her students took those quotes, they decided what it meant to them, and they presented it on, I think it was using Word, but they got to implement all the different skills they had been using with Word into creating these amazing posters that we display throughout the school. And I'm super excited to show this. We also have our Kids at Hope t-shirts. Oh wait, I'm going to change that. They're not our Kids at Hope t-shirts, they're our school t-shirts. So our school shirts, they have the OCAMIC logo on the front and then on the back. Can you see this? Okay. On the back of the adult ones, we have the Treasure Hunters Pledge, and on the back of our student ones, we have the Kids at Hope Pledge. And the idea behind doing this actually wasn't a Kids at Hope committee idea. This was another teacher came up with this idea. But the idea is that there's not a Kids at Hope shirt and a OCAMIC shirt. They're the same thing because it's part of who we are. So.
And with you saying it's part of who you are, that kind of supports the fact that with Kids at Hope, it's a cultural framework. It's something that must be actually merged into the culture. It's not something separate from other initiatives or other programs that take place at the school. So, you know, leading us right into the next topic, when we discuss having Kids at Hope, merging Kids at Hope into a culture of a school, we encourage that each school has a lead person or somebody to lead the charge for Kids at Hope. And not only a lead person, but a trainer on campus to also help facilitate and be a resource on campus. So outside of those two entities, it's also very important to have a committee. So with having the Kids at Hope committee or having a committee that discusses Kids at Hope on campus, what have you seen, Anna, to be successful in the process that you all do at Allapattah Flats?
Previously, we had a PBS, Positive Behavior Support Committee, and we decided that it made sense to just have one committee instead of two different ones and put together PBS and Kids at Hope because it's basically a positive philosophy of believing in children. With PBS, we have mini lessons that we teach throughout the year to teach and reteach expectations. So it's also a way to take Kids at Hope and incorporate it into content areas. We also have, part of our mission is to spread out those universal truths throughout campus. So you were talking about visuals. We think as advertisement, we just want everybody. Our school campus is so big, K to 8. So we want our older students to know what the little ones are doing and to benefit from that. So those are some of the things that we're doing as part of combining the two.
And by combining your committees, that gives you an opportunity to communicate with each other the different programs and the different initiatives you have on campus.
Right, and have one mission.
And have one mission. Now, Heather, what you discussed was, earlier, this is what you said. You said there's no perfect way to bring Kids at Hope into a culture. And I agree with you totally. But at OCAMIC, you all handle your committee situation a little differently.
And I think it's kind of interesting in hearing about how you've merged Kids at Hope and PBS. We actually tried to do that last year at OCAMIC. We had a Kids at Hope committee and we had our PBS committee, and we saw that they're so closely and intricately linked. We thought, well, why don't we just kind of merge the two? And for us, that didn't work in the way that we had hoped that it would, with time constraints and with everything we were trying to accomplish with PBS. The Kids at Hope, I don't want to say it wasn't touched on, but it wasn't, we didn't always have the time to have the conversations that we wanted to be able to have. And so this year we actually split it off again, and now we're a separate committee once again. But what I think has been really cool about either way, however it works for your school, but what's been really cool this year is we've been able to regroup and say, how do we want to do this? What do we want to accomplish? And our goal for every single meeting is how do we help spread this culture, and exactly what Anna was saying, how do we share these universal truths and make them a part of our school. And so it really does kind of start to become a part of everything that you do. And what we found helped for our personally for us, for our committee, is we try to have one focus a month. So we come together, we talk about what we've accomplished, we talk about what we want to do next month, how we're going to accomplish it, and we pound that out, and we come back and we start over. So
Okay, so at your school you have the separate committees. But what you and I discussed was, even though you have separate committees, you attend the PBS committee meeting, correct?
yeah, see, I forgot part of that conversation. Actually, part of my role on the PBS committee is I'm the Kids at Hope liaison, so that the conversations that are happening in our Kids at Hope committees can be brought back to PBS, but also so that the conversations we're having in our PBS committee can be brought back to Kids at Hope, and that way they're still being merged, but we're also being able to have the time to accomplish what we want to accomplish.
Right, and that's great that you are having participation with that committee, and it's also great that you were able to find a way to merge your committees, because Kids at Hope and PBS, and as well as other initiatives and programs that take place, they overlap and they can seamlessly merge in many ways. So when talking about building a Kids at Hope culture on your school campus or on any school campus or organization, it can only be successful if there's buy-in from the adults. So with your committees, that's one way you can come up with ideas to facilitate the buy-in from the adults. Now, at Alapata Flats, Principal Galloway, Miss Patty Galloway, I know she is a very strong believer in Kids at Hope.
She is.
She's actually on the committee that helped form or come up with the 5-year plan to implement Kids at Hope into the whole district.
Yes.
So what are some ways that your administration supports or fuels the buy-in from the adults at Alapata Flats?
Well, we always think of what Dr. Miller said, that it's not just good enough to have good intentions, that everything we do has to be intentional. So that goes from behavior kinds of things that we do with students to even academic lessons. We have a new framework in St. Lucie County for teachers, and there is part of that framework that addresses the way teachers and staff talk to students, the expectations of high-performing and low-performing students. So it all goes together. We look at our data. We have so much access to data, so we can see how our students are performing. And then from the data that we collect from those evaluations and observations, we can also see, is this a student who needs to develop a relationship with somebody? So that's what we've been doing, is using that as evidence.
Okay, so a lot of database research that you use as baseline data, where you can go back and communicate with your teachers what you found, so you can utilize your strengths and improve in areas where there's room for improvement. Now, when you and I sat down with Ms. Peterson, one thing that was discussed was that Kids at Hope at your school is owned by the staff, but it is supported by the administration. Now, every time I turn around, it seems as though at Oak Hammock there's some type of activity going on with the adults in regards to Kids at Hope. Can you give us some of those examples of some things you're doing at Oak Hammock?
I would be happy to, and I have to start by saying our administration is so incredibly supportive, and I really don't think if you don't have supportive administration, having a Kids at Hope culture at your school would be so incredibly challenging. But one of the things that we've really seen at Oak Hammock is that when teachers own the belief, they purposefully and meaningfully incorporate that into what they're doing without somebody saying, hey, make sure you're doing this or make sure you're completing this activity. It happens organically and it happens purposefully and meaningly. So we do our start of the year trainings, of course. We have our refresher trainings, and what we focused on this year in particular was empowering teachers to go out and make this belief their own and bring that into the classroom in different ways. And we've seen that in so many different ways. When you walk into classrooms, you say you're always seeing something for teachers. The teachers are incorporating these values into their literacy lessons. They're incorporating them into technology. They're incorporating them into what they're reading, and they're pulling out destinations. They're pulling out ACEs. But one of our goals this year as a committee was to really focus on, like I said, focus on teachers. And so we started Hope Buddies, which was something that another teacher had started. And we quite literally paired up all of the adults in our school with another adult. So my Hope Buddy, for example, is actually I have two, the PE coach and our math coach. And every single adult on campus has a Hope Buddy. And the idea behind that is that you have somebody on campus to go to. You have somebody on campus that just is going to get to know you a little bit better. You have somebody that might stop by and say hi or drop you a note or drop you a little treat, and it was a way for us all to get to know each other a little bit better. And then classroom teachers that were Hope Buddies, now their classes are also Hope Buddies, so the 7th graders can go in and visit the 4th graders. We did, this might sound silly, but we did Operation Cupcake, where for one of our staff meetings, one of our professional development days, the Kids at Hope committee got together super early. We made a bunch of cupcakes. We put little treasures on the top to remind people that they were treasure hunters, and it was just a yay you moment. We did Leaf Something Positive, or in the fall we did Fall Leaves, and one of our treasure hunters wrote positive notes on every single one of these hundreds of leaves, and teachers took them and put them in positive places. And we just did You've Been Elfed, which is where you get, it's like a Secret Santa thing, it's like You've Been Booed. And it might sound silly doing like these little things, but it supports the culture. It helps make this positive culture that then gets put into our kids as well. So it just creates a happy place full of treasure hunters.
And by creating that happy place, it's important that not only do we make our children feel good, but we want to make the adults feel good. Because like you said, when there is, the belief is genuine from the adults, that's when you actually have the culture start to being built. So we spoke about the visuals, how that's very important, and the adult buy-in. But just as important in the Kids at Hope framework is the usage of language of hope. Now, it's very important that not only do we believe in children, but also it's just as important in how we address them. How do we talk to them? How do we celebrate their success? And even how do we correct them when they're wrong or when they've made a bad decision? Now, Heather, what do you feel is the significance of the language of hope?
Language, this might sound corny, again, but language is transformative. It really is. What we say to ourselves, to others, becomes what we believe. And so if you talk about a student being stubborn and defiant, all of a sudden we have these walls, we have these barriers. I can't reach him because he's stubborn and he's defiant. But if I talk about him being strong-willed and determined, that's not only empowering for him, but that's empowering for me, because now I can help. Now I can do something. Now I can take those skills that he has and help them become something positive. We talked, actually, I had a Kids at Hope meeting yesterday, and we kind of reflected, going over these questions, and we had a huge conversation about how transformative the language of hope is, and how what we saw at OCAMIC, it was never a negative, it was not negative, but intentionally and purposefully using positive language spreads and grows. And if I know that you're going to say something positive about a student, or you're going to take a potential weakness and mention it as a strength, I'm not going to come complaining to you about a kid. I'm going to come to you and try to figure out how I can help that student. And it really just starts to spread, and that positive language has a ripple effect. And it's just incredibly powerful. And
it is powerful, and that's a great adjective to use here on the Power of Hope. Now, Anna, at Allapattah, everywhere you turn, you have a big, beautiful school, and everywhere you look, there's motivational sayings on the walls, or posters, or things of that nature. What do you feel is the benefit of language of hope?
I think students are used to reacting sometimes. Whenever there's a conflict, they just react. And when you use the language of hope, you teach them to stop and feel safe when they're talking to an adult, when they're talking to an administrator, even if they did something that was wrong, they know they have a chance. So they're not turned off right away. I think it's just a good modeling for students. They will, after you practice it, and I've seen it happen in a classroom, you start to hear the same things that the teacher says, that's what the students begin to say. And then they take that out of the classroom. They take it home, they take it to their friends, and it's contagious.
Okay. So language of hope is contagious, from the adults to the children, and even from the children to the adults. Now, with that being said, at Oak Hammock, there's so many activities that you guys are doing with not only Kids at Hope, but all the other initiatives on campus, but specifically with Kids at Hope. What are some of the examples of some activities you're doing this year?
Well, I'm going to kind of pull off of what you just said, and I do want to say that every activity, I would argue, is a Kids at Hope activity, because it really is. It's part of who we are. But there are a few activities that we've planned this year specifically for our students. One was Red Ribbon Week, and it was the first time we as a school had celebrated Red Ribbon Week. We actually accidentally celebrated it the wrong week when I was planning it. But anyway, we celebrated it. And it was really amazing. We invited our St. Lucie West Elks Lodge, our local Elks Lodge, to participate. We wanted to see if we could work with them. And the support we got from them was so incredible. We did a door decorating contest, and they came in and they judged that, and they gave prizes. They were going to give one, but they had to give three because there were so many cool ones. They supported an essay contest, and there's a scholarship that goes along with that. They spent an entire day at our school doing assemblies, and they were scaffolded assemblies for different grade levels. And they made real connections in that one day, in those few hours. They made real connections with our kids. So that was an amazing, day and week. We also just had Hats Off to You, which was our first ever Kids at Hope fundraiser, because we realized we don't have any money for our committee. And so we decided to do Hats Off to You. And it was a day where kids could wear a hat for $1, but the purpose behind it was that kids would then identify a talent or a skill or an intelligence, and that adults would also be sharing their talent, skills, and intelligence and identifying it in their students and in each other. So it was a whole day of going around and saying something positive about yourself and about others, and be warned, because at any point that day someone could stop and say, hey, what's something you've accomplished that you're proud of? And they just lit up. It was a really, really cool day. So
that sounds like a great activity.
I recommend it.
Now, Anna, even though this is technically the first year at Allapattah Flats with Kids at Hope, you guys have dove all the way in, and you're doing a lot of things as well. What are some examples of the activities you guys are doing over there?
We actually started with a community reading day. We had, and this is the second time that we do it. We want to do it this annually. We invite members of the community to come to school, and we pair them up with a classroom. They get to read to them. But not just that, they also get to talk to them about how they got to be where they are today, starting with elementary school. So the kids get to see, it's not like an adult becomes an adult out of nowhere. You have to follow some steps. We are going to have our Gator Fest in the spring, and we're going to take advantage of that because we get a lot of families in. And we are going to do something that we call Digging for Treasures. And it's going to have activities for each of the different destinations. Just to give you an example, one of the activities is going to be a treasure map. And the students are going to be able to trace, well, this is where I've been so far, this is where I'm going, and what do I need to get there. Something else that we want to do with our middle school students is we would like to take them on field trips to the different high schools in our zone, and even to IRSC, so that they can see what awaits in their future. We are going to have a career day also, so that we have members of the community. Again, we try to bring the community in to share, because we realize that our students don't know all the possibilities that are out there for them as far as career and hobbies. And another thing that we want to do, which we think is going to be a lot of fun, and it kind of sounds a little bit to what Heather was saying, we are going to have students travel to different classrooms in the pod, and the teachers are going to share either a hobby, recreation, something that they, for example, if they love cooking, they're going to share that with the students, either do a recipe or something like that. If they like the ocean, if they like, they're just going to have an opportunity to become more personal with the students and share.
And again, those are great activities. And with you all being a first-year school, you know, like I said, they're going 100 miles an hour and they're doing a lot of great things.
It's fun.
And it is fun. And I've been to, you know, some of your activities, and all of them have been great. Now, one thing that you both mentioned was the importance of the community tie-in. Now, with your Red Ribbon Week, you had a community organization come in, and I know with your Community Reading Day, you had an outside, you know, entities and outside treasure hunters coming in. One thing at Kids at Hope, one activity that we do district-wide is our Tunnels of Hope. And the Tunnels of Hope, as you all know, is basically an opportunity for treasure hunters in the community to come in and celebrate our children, let them know we do believe in them, we are proud of them, and we know they are capable of success. And we just kind of cheer them on as they enter into the school, you know, to start the year off. So it's a great energy building type situation.
Be fair, you don't kind of cheer them on. They're like rock stars. You're like, yeah, go. It's not like, yay. It's amazing.
It is amazing. It is an amazing event. Not only did it happen at both of your schools, but it happened at multiple Kids at Hope schools across the district, and also daycares. That it happened in the, you know, in the community daycare. So that was another great thing that was taking place. Now, one activity that you did not mention is
The Grace Packs.
The Grace Packs.
I forgot to
So
mention
please
that.
spend some time and talk about the Grace Packs.
Well, something that it just seems more of a challenge. That community service always seems like a challenge. So we are going to do something that we are going to call Gator Grace Packs. We realized that we have a lot of students and families who are called food insecure. These are students who may not have enough food for the weekend, who are, you know, struggling, parents who are struggling with not having a job or something like that. And we are going to provide them with food items so that they can have enough food for the weekend. We are doing this by collecting food items, but also getting agencies to donate. So we have affiliated with some churches. We also have the 4-H providing us with donations, and then we have our own students managing all of this because they are the ones who sort the food, they are the ones who create the packs, and we're going to start small with a few students, but little by little it's going to grow, probably 70 families a week.
And that's a great thing. So I would like to thank you ladies both for coming in. I wish we had more time to talk because you have so much great information. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to tell the audience to feel free to contact you.
Yes.
Please do.
For further information in regards to Kids at Hope and building it into the community in your school-wide culture. And remember, hope keeps motivation alive longer than anything else. All children are capable of success, no exceptions. I am Treasure Hunter Jared Stevens, Kids at Hope School Community Liaison. We would like to thank you for tuning in to our show today, today's episode of The Power of Hope, and have a blessed day.